All right, guys, let's do we're going to talk about your chicken list, and I call it the chicken list because, or the nah list, because there are three types of people who exist on planet Earth. There are people you know really well, who are like who are basically your close family and friends. Your your the people you called already. You probably have already finished. You're just about to finish calling, and you didn't really use the phone approach. You're just like, all right, mom, coming by. Uncle Charlie, I'm stopping by tomorrow at 6. I got a job. I gotta hang out with you. So, the approach. It's very important you use the approach. It'll help you. There are certain things in the approaches. If you use the approaches, they will work. And you have to learn how to develop the skill of the phone approaches. So, but let's just say you didn't, or you did, or great, whatever you did, you got through that first part. As you've heard me talk about in training, is people that you know are very easy because you have trust. There's two reasons why you can influence people. One is because of the trust they have of you, and the other is because of your skill level, your communication skills, your ability to convey information in the right way. Well, when you're brand new, you see someone you know, you have a lot of trust very high. All right, but then your skill level very low. So you have 100% trust, but you have no skill level. So when you get to people you don't know at all, they don't trust you at all. So therefore, the skill level has to be high because the trust is very low. So you have no trust from them. So in between that, to make the transition to get to them, is you have to call people you kind of sort of know because they know of you, a little bit of trust. They know you're something about you, and your skill level gets better because you've done 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 people you're very close with. So the point being is you got to get to those lists. But the reason why, but I call it the chicken list or I call it the nah list. The nahs meaning you look at your paper and it's like, oh, you look at them and, oh, should I call them? Nah. Oh no, I haven't talked to them in a long time. Oh my goodness, they're gonna be, oh no way. All right, so those people. So those people on your list, it's weird that if you're like, I'm not going to call them. I'm not going to call my high school teacher because I haven't been in high school for 3 years now. I'm a junior in college, and I've never called them. I would never talk to them. I never talked to them outside of school, so I feel weird calling them. But if you went to see someone else, if you went to see your teacher's sister and she referred you to your high school teacher, you would call them and you wouldn't have the nut. And then you would get to be like, you're my high school, you're my teacher. Oh yeah, I remember that, blah blah blah. And you would just do the presentation. So why do you have to wait for someone to refer you to someone you already have a contact you have contact with? You don't have to wait for that. It's the same exact person. There's no difference. So get over the fear. And guys, you'll have those nods. I remember I didn't want to call one of my teachers. I remember, Donna Johnson, and you might even heard me tell these stories. But Miss Johnson, I didn't want to call. She was like a marketing teacher in like high school. I would start a job when I was in junior in college already. And I remember I was all nervous, but finally I was in this big contest. I'm like, all right, I'm going to call her. Why not? And I called her. I went over, and she bought some stuff at the time. I was selling, I was selling products, but she bought some stuff, and I remember her giving me referrals, and I remember her saying, this is so great. Like I never get to see my students, once they leave. And it was great. I'm glad you thought of me. Like she was like a total opposite of what I thought. And I was like, oh, I don't want to call her because she's going to think I'm using her or something like that. Well, guys, what we do, you have to believe in what we do. As far as that goes, we're going to people's homes and we're sharing with them how they can save money on their electric bill. We're teaching them what they're paying for in their electric bill that they never know. And we're potentially, teach them about solar that can save them a ton of money, that can help our environment. Like there is nothing that we're doing that you're taking advantage of them. It's information that you would tell you. Hopefully, you would, if you were sitting with those people and you saw them and they said, "Well, what are you doing now?" You'd be like, "Oh, this is so amazing! You have to do this." Hopefully, that's the way you would feel about the job. If you don't, you probably are in the wrong job. You shouldn't represent us if you don't believe those. So, um, I remember being at a conference once, and I had a whole bunch of NAS of people I still hadn't called in a long time, and I knew I could find them, but I just didn't. And I remember the guy at the conference was like, what those people think if you don't call someone that's on your chicken list, um, then what you're saying is what those people think about you for 2 minutes on the phone is more important than the goals that you have in your own life. Because that's what you're saying. So people always like fond of saying, well, I don't care what people think about me. Well, that's BS, because you're sitting there like, oh, I don't want to call them on the phone asking for an appointment. As I said before, the worst thing that could possibly happen if you call them on the phone is they say no. They say no, they hang up the phone, that's it. And you probably haven't talked to them in a long time anyway, and it's probably not going to be their reaction. They don't go like, how dare you? They're usually just like, no, I'm busy, or maybe another time. Like, that's like the worst thing that can happen. And the best thing that happens is you go over there and you share information with them. Yeah, you got to get over it. So the key is to make a big list. We're going to talk about that right now. So take out a piece of paper and a pen. If you haven't done this already, if you haven't done it in training, this is going to help you. Just some more thought joggers as to people that you are still there. There are hundreds of people that you still know that you have not contacted yet. I know there are. If you've done less than 40 appointments, then you still have people. You could go to 30 to 40 appointments without ever needing to call a recommendation, and you probably shouldn't. The better you are when you get to the recommendations, the more practice you have on the belt, the more you've seen the people that in your circle, the better you're going to be when you get to recommendations. Reps want to go to recommendations so fast, and there's no difference between someone you know and someone you don't know other than your own head, that you think, I don't know what the thought process, oh, people I know don't. It's, again, if you were referred to the people you know, you would call them, and there would be referrals. They're the same people. So anyway, all right. So take out a piece of paper. We're going to give you some categories. And I want you to do this. I want you to do it whether you know you can get their phone number, whether you think you're going to call them. Eventually, if you're not comfortable calling them now, eventually you will get to the point where you're comfortable calling them. Or you'll be referred by somebody to these people anyway, so you'll have to call them anyway. All right. So we're just going to go through some categories. I want you to take the time, pause the video once I give you the category, and just think about it, write down as many people as you can, and then restart the video. All right, so let's start. And I want you to do this. I want you to exhaust you can use your phone, you can use your Facebook, you're on the computer right now, so you can open up your Facebook and use this as you do this exercise. The goal is to have, by the end of this exercise, to have at least 100 people names on this piece of paper. Excuse me. So you want to have 100 people. All right, so let's start off with relatives, family and relatives. So start writing. Even if you've already seen them, write them down anyway. So hope you paused. So we're on family and relatives. That could mean uncles, aunts, cousins, second cousins, third cousins, brothers and sisters, all that kind of stuff. Okay? So put all those people down. Pause the video, write them all down. Think about it. It's hard. All right, next up is so next up is your friends. If you're your friends' parents, okay? Every single friend of yours has a parent at some point that gave birth to them. So so you can write down all of your friends, every single one that lives in New York. All right. This could take a while, so take the time to do it. Go on Facebook, write down each person. You can do this on a computer and Word if you want to do it that way. So however you want to do it, just make your list. You can do it on Word. You can be writing it down. But again, by the way, when I get done with this list, I had 628 people on this list. There was every person on every football team I ever played with, every coach, every teacher, every whatever. All right, so every friend. Pause the video, write down friends. All right, next up, parents' friends. So I remember doing a presentation for Mr. Malone, who was the friend of my dad's. So you can write down all your parents' friends, people they talk about, people they talk to. Write those people down. Pause the video, write it down. So any teams you've been on, all right, if you were ever on band, if you ever played any kind of sport, you can go high school, varsity, you can do JV, you can do any kind of clubs that you are a part of. Any organization you were a part of, there's people in there. Write them down. Again, the objective is it's a brainstorming activity, so the goal is to make it as big as possible and then pare down from there, not to start paring down beforehand. What's over here? So so let's write that down. So any write down anybody who used to be on a team, right? Their parents, their coaches, okay, coaches from those teams. It's another person you can write down, right? I saw all my old coaches, Mr. Sanzone, Mr. Carpluck. I saw I looked up Reef Schneider, couldn't find him. Mr. Baumiller, all right, so my basketball coach. So my aunt was our track coach, Mr. Julian. So you can write these people down. Pause the video. All right, next up is neighbors. Okay, all the neighbors. By the way, you probably have seen some of your neighbors, but you probably have a neighbor on this side, you probably have a neighbor on that side, you probably have a neighbor behind you, you probably have a neighbor on the other side of the house, the one on the angle over here, angle over there, back that way. You should know your neighbors anyway. Even if you weren't going to do this job, you should know your neighbors. Just go over, knock on their door, and introduce yourself. Okay, so if you don't know how to do that, you knock on their door, you introduce yourself, you say, hi, I'm your neighbor. I wave to you all the time. Those wavy neighbors. You can write wavy neighbor. Wavy neighbor. So what you would write down: wavy neighbor on right, left, side, back, corner. The people who live 2 houses over, you can see them too. Okay, you can do your whole block. You should know people on your street in case your house was on fire. You know where to run. All right, so that's what I did. I knew Ted and Eileen live on one side of me. I was very close with them. I didn't know the neighbor across the street or the neighbor behind me, so I just went over and knocked on their door. I said, hi, I wanted to introduce myself. I live right behind you. Or they're going to be like, oh, you live behind me. How dare you knock on my door? Like, they're like, oh, hi, how are you? I'm like, good. Yeah, I just figured I wanted to meet my neighbors. I've never spoken to before. I just wanted to introduce myself. Blah blah blah, and you make some small talk, right? And then eventually, you say, if you're in college, you can say, yeah, I go to college at Rutgers University. I've actually got this job for the summer where I get I talk to people. I get people's opinion on a presentation that I do. It's about like saving energy. I used to talk about knives. Okay, I would say I get people's opinion on like kitchen cutlery and stuff like that. Maybe I could call you and do one for you one day. You don't have to buy anything. It's very informational, and it's something that could potentially save you money. Would you be okay with that? Sometimes, by the way, I wouldn't go there with my schedule, my planner, and everything. I would just go meet with them. I would get their phone number, and then like a week later, I called them and I said, "Hey, I'm short this week. I need to do 10 appointments every week. I only have 9. I know we spoke last week. I wanted to know if I could just swing over and sit down with you for a half hour and talk." That's how you do it. Okay, so you can meet your neighbors. All right, so write down all your neighbors, even if you're writing guy in the brown house, woman over there, wavy neighbor over there. Pause the video, write the neighbors down. All right, if you go to church, everyone at church, the pastor, the church people, the people who do, any of that type of any type of organization like that. If your parents are in a Knights of Columbus or any kind of organization, pause the video, write that down. If you don't have any, then we'll keep going. If you do, write down people for church. You don't have to know their names yet. Lady who wears the crazy hat all the time. The lady who teaches the Sunday school. The lady who does your objective is to make this list as long as possible. All right. All right. So next up, people. I know we put your parents' friends, maybe people that your parents work with. You can also do your part of this category. People you used to work with, old jobs you used to work at, your old boss, your old coworkers. See if they left the job, maybe they need a job with us. We're always looking to hire somebody. All right, but your old coworkers, your old bosses, usually very helpful people. If they live in a house, they probably would like to save money on their energy bills. All right. I've already mentioned this a couple times, but your old teachers. Your old teachers would work. Okay, so you can literally sit there and go, my first grade teacher, my second grade teacher, my third grade teacher, my fourth grade teacher, my fifth grade teacher, my sixth grade teacher, my seventh grade science teacher. Then you went to science and social studies and English and whatever. Those are all teachers. By the way, teachers are great because they know other teachers. If you're doing this in the summertime, teachers are great because they got nothing to do. They like helping students. That's why they became teachers and coaches. And there are a lot of people who like to help people. If you have goals, all right, take some time, write down all your teachers. Pause the video. Okay, next up, your brothers and sisters, friends. My sister's annoying friend Jocelyn. I went to see her parents. I went to see the Laskies. It was my sister's friend's parents. Okay, yes, I know sometimes your sisters and brothers' friends are annoying. Who cares? It doesn't matter. They live. You're not dealing with them. You're dealing with their parents. Again, if you got referred, if you went and saw a presentation today and they referred your sister's friend's parents, you would call them and then you would say, "Hi, I got referred by Mary Smith." So instead of saying, "I got referred by Mary Smith," you say, "Yes, I'm your sister's, I'm Paige's brother's, I'm Paige's brother. She's friends with your daughter?" Oh, again, people, when you call them, they want to know who you are, what you want. Just got to make, yeah, my sister Paige is like best friends with your daughter. Oh, yeah, what's up? Yeah, the reason I'm calling is, and then you go into your phone approach. Okay, so write down your sisters and brothers, annoying friends, if you think they're annoying. Okay, now, anybody who does next category is anybody who does business with you. All right, anybody that you do give business to, they're going to help you because they want your business. So they're going to sit and listen to you. They're much more friendly. They're much nicer. So if it is a restaurant you go to all the time, you talk to the restaurant owner. I remember when I was in college, I did a presentation for Abdul, who was the owner of the grease truck that I went to all the time and got Fat Cats at Rutgers. All right, so. So anybody you do business with. I went to see my dentist. I saw my mom's hairdresser. So anyone your parents do business with, anyone your sister and brother do business with. So hairdressers are great. As I just said, doctors, dentists. You can call your doctor or your dentist and set up an appointment. They're people. They have a house. They're just people. Again, if you were referred to your doctor by someone else, you would go and call your doctor and say, "Oh yeah, I was referred by Mrs. Smith." "Oh yeah, I'm one of your patients." So why do you have to wait till you're referred to them to call them? It doesn't make any sense. Anyone who, again, if you go and eat at the same place all the time, who mows your lawn? Okay, that person. If you have somebody that does that, they probably live in a house. If you have somebody that paints, somebody that opens and closes your pool, someone who, I don't know, anybody you give business to, anybody you pay for a service from, pause the video, write all those people down. All right. Anybody that you know potentially who is a firefighter. So we'll go through some professions that are great. Firefighters, police officers. These are all great because they know a lot of other people. And they can help you with stuff, and they have shifts like nurses. Nurses are great. If you know nurses in a hospital, they know a lot of other nurses. They're shift workers, so sometimes they work a graveyard shift, and if you want to do appointments during the day, you get a couple of nurses. They can tell you who else is during the day. Same thing with police officers, same thing with firefighters. Who's a real estate agent is another good one. Real estate agents have a lot of free time. They have a lot of time that they can work around stuff. So you can ask your parents, who is our real estate agent? Who is our mortgage person? Who is the person we got the loan from, the mortgage loan, the finance person? People work in a bank. I set up an appointment with the guy I went to Chase Bank because I lost my ATM card. I got stuck in the thing and I drove off because it's got the little chip, and I drove off and I came back and I was like, oh man, I forgot I lost the card, and I sat and I talked to him for a little bit, and then I set up an appointment with him. I ended up setting up an appointment with that guy. So anybody, again, I do business with Chase. They want my business, so do business with me. I talked to him about solar and we set up an appointment. So I'm not going to keep going. We're only going on 20 minutes here for this video. But the point being is this list can go on for a very long time. All right. You need to be your best source of recommendations. All right, so it's your job. There's lots and lots of people. When reps tell me I have no one left to see, that is impossible. We live on an island with 2 million households on it. All right, if we lived in like Kansas or Iowa, where there was like one house and then you had to like drive a mile to the next house, I can understand you saying I'm running out of people to see. But there are plenty of people to see. There's just people you are not comfortable with or you haven't found their phone number yet, and that's different than I have nobody left to see. So take this list, work on the list. There's always more people. And when you absorb, my mom still gives me people. Oh, you haven't talked to so and so. She still knows some more people. There's always more people. You meet people every day. Set up appointments. That's your goal. Just got to get over the chicken list and get over the NOS. All right. Hopefully this helped.